A frame animation, also sometimes called a drawable animation, is based on traditional animation techniques. You start with a collection of image files, typically in PNG or JPG format. You then define your animation in an XML file and launch it with a couple of lines of Java code. In this project named Animate Drawable, I have a simple application with two buttons labeled Start and Stop. In the XML layout file, the buttons are defined down here, and they each have an on-click event handler, pointing to a method in my main activity class. I'll jump to those methods and show that the activity class is very simple, just the usual onCreate method and the two handler methods. I'm going to be doing an animation that involves 20 images, and I've provided those images in the exercise files assets subfolder. There's a subfolder there named Monkey Images, and there are 20 JPG files. This is the starting state, and this is the ending state. Now, to see the entire animation, on Mac I can select all of those files, and then press Command-O, and I'll open those files in Preview. Then I can use my up and down cursor arrows to see how the animation works. Now again, this requires a certain amount of work up front. You have to create the images, and you have to do the animation before you can actually use everything in Android. So next I'll go back to my folder, and I'll copy these files to my clipboard. Then I'll go back to Android Studio. I'll go to my Resources folder, where I have an empty drawable folder, and I'll paste those files into place. Now, if you have any trouble with copying and pasting, you can instead try dragging and dropping into that drawable folder. But when you're done moving the files into place, you'll have 20 drawable resources. Each of these will be translated into a resource file. And again, they could be PNG files, but I've decided to use JPGs because I can optimize them so easily using web image optimization techniques. Each of these files is less than 8K, and so I won't be using a lot of space in my persistent storage on the Android device, and I won't be taking up a lot of memory. My next step is to create an XML file to describe the animation. This will also go into the drawable folder. It won't go into an anim or an animation folder. I'll right-click here and select New, Drawable Resource File. I'll name the file monkey_animation. Follow the usual rules for naming resources. In the resulting file, I'll change the root element's name to animation-list. Then I'll create my first child element. It'll be an item element, and it'll have a drawable attribute that I'll set to the ID of my first JPG file, monkey0001. Next, I'll set a duration. This is the amount of time I want this image to appear on the screen, and I'll set it to 50 milliseconds. Now, if I were creating this file from scratch, I would simply duplicate this line a bunch of times and then change the numbers. If you prefer, you can go and get a finished version of the file from a gist that I've put up on the web. Go to git.io/vw, then uppercase B, N, and lowercase p. That'll take you to this gist, and you can select and copy all of this code and then paste it into place in your file. And now you're describing one item for each of the graphics, and each of them has a duration of 50 milliseconds. So once you've loaded up the images into the drawable folder, and you've created your XML file, you're ready to run the animation. I'll describe those steps in the next video.